Rajiv, I can't hear anything. Am I on the screen?
I can hear you. Can you hear me now?
Yes, now I can.
The program has not started.
Okay.
You can.
I thought something went wrong in the link.
No. It's okay.
Okay, thank you so much.
Hello. Good morning, Dr. Usman. How are you? Hello, Usman.
Hi, Dr. Ajib.
Hi. Hello, Usman. Can you hear me now?
Yes, Dr. Ajib, I can hear you.
Okay. I said, how are you?
I'm fine, and thank you. I replied to you. I think you didn't get.
Yeah. I got the message. So fine. Welcome here. We are just waiting for our director to join, and we'll start. We'll start shortly. One guest and our director. We are just waiting for him to join. Please give us a moment, Usman.
Okay.
Good morning, sir. Once, sir, very good morning. Sir, very good morning. I can see you. I can see you, sir.
Morning, Rajiv. Can you hear me now?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah. I can see you. I can hear you. Yeah, sir.
Right. I can see Alka madam on the screen also.
Yeah, madam is here. Sir, we are just waiting for our director, sir, to join, and we'll start.
Sure.
Navanita?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Director sir is joining. I called him. He will
Okay.
join. So get ready with your program now.
Okay, sir. Sure.
We'll start as soon as it comes. Okay. Sir, good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Yeah, sir. Let me introduce you to our invited speakers today. You can see Professor Alaka Desai Sharma
Namaskar, sir. Good morning.
and Sir Professor Rajiv Mohan Pant,
Namaskar.
my teacher. Okay, over to Navanita.
Thank you, sir. A very good morning and warm welcome to our Honorable Director of National Institute of Technology, Silchar, Professor Sivaji Bandyopadhyay, Dr. J.P. Mishra, sir, HOD Electrical Engineering, NIT Silchar, our invited guests and eminent speakers, Professor Alka Desai Sharma, Professor Rajiv Mohan Pant, Director, National Institute of Rural Development and Panchayati Raj, Guwahati, Usman Asad, PhD Research Fellow, Dalhousie University, Canada, deans, heads of various departments, faculty members, and my dear participants. Greetings to one and all. I hope all of you are doing well and safe in this pandemic situation. On behalf of the organizing committee, I, Nabanita Adhikari, welcome you all, and I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude for your presence in this international webinar on relevance of Gandhian thoughts in modern context, commemorating the 150th birthday of Mahatma Gandhiji, organized jointly by NIT Silchar, India, and Dalhousie University, Canada, under the banner of SPARK, MHRD, Government of India. Once again, I'd like to welcome all the dignitaries and the participants gathered here and wish you a good day. Now, I request Dr. Rajiv Dey, convener of the program, to initiate the India lightning to mark the beginning of the ceremony. Sir, please.
Yes.
Kurutvam kalyanam arogyam dhanasampada Shubham kurutvam kalyanam arogyam dhanasampada Shatru buddhi vinashaya Deepajyotir namostute Deepajyotir namostute Deepajyotir parabrahma Deepajyotir-janardanah Deepajyotir-parabrahma Deepajyotir-janardanah Deepo hartu me papam Sandhya-deepa-namostute O Deepa Brahma-rupastham Jyotisham Prabhuravyayah O Deepa Brahma-rupastham Jyotisham Prabhuravyayah Arogyam dehi putrasya Gatim swachhami me sada Yaverastam samarabhya Yavat suryodayo bhavet Yaverastam samarabhya Yavat suryodayo bhavet Yasya tishte gruhe deepa Tasya nasti darindrata Shubham kurutvam kalyanam Arogyam dhanasampada Shubham kurutvam kalyanam Arogyam dhanasampada Shatru buddhi vinashaya Deepajyotir namostute Deepajyotir namostute Shubham kurutvam kalyanam Arogyam dhanasampada Shubham kurutvam kalyanam Arogyam dhanasampada
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Now, I would like to invite our Honorable Director, Sir, Professor Shivaji Bandyopadhyay, who is also the patron of this webinar, to address the gathering.
Yeah. Yeah. Good morning to the delegates from India, and I think good evening to the delegates from Canada. My students, those who are on the inaugural program in the Google Meet, and I understand because the program is also being webcast live on the YouTube, official YouTube channel of NIT Silchar. So maybe a good number of participants will be joining soon. So wishing all of them having a good day. So this particular program, it was inspired, motivated by the Ministry of Human Resource Development earlier, which is now the Ministry of Education in India. 2nd October 1869, Mahatma Gandhi was born. So 2019, that marked the beginning of 150th birthday celebration of Mahatma Gandhi. On that particular day, NIT Silchar became a part of a global movement, Gandhi Global Solar Yatra. The idea there was basically that is the solar energy is actually say no one's property. Everyone, every person can have the power from the solar. It was termed as the Swaraj basically. Swaraj means you run your own destiny, you run your own and that Swaraj or the solar power to each and everyone. Based on that, the activity that we conducted on that day was that 500 school children from the nearby schools, village schools most specifically, they were given a solar lantern, be assembled. So our students and other students and faculty members, they help them. Throughout the day, they assemble the solar lantern, and in the evening, they lit. That is, the put it on. So that was the power in their own hand. Now, in the last 1 year, what we have seen, those solar lanterns were given to the students, and they took it, and during their evening time, so they are using it for their study. Similar things have happened all over the globe also. The idea was initiated by Professor Chetan Singh Solanki from IIT Bombay, and we were happy to be part of it. So our celebration of or marking the beginning of 150th anniversary of Gandhiji actually started from that day. And this 2nd October 2020 is considered as the end of that year-long celebration by India itself. And as part of that, because of these international collaborative programs, not only in case of Spark, but also in other collaborative programs, the idea from the government side was that the ideals of Gandhiji, so that has to be spread across the globe, that has to be shared across the globe, to note, to identify that the relevance of Gandhian thoughts are still valid today. So in the 4 Spark projects that we have at NIT Silchar, we are organizing this kind of international symposium. In the Spark project, which I am heading with University of Saarland, Germany. So the idea of the project and the Gandhian thought that matches very closely, that is the linguistic diversity and the thought of Mahatma Gandhi. That is where he was basically, first of all, he was for vernacular languages, spread of it in official terms as well as in, say, the people communication among them. And at the same time, when the technology issues actually are coming into being, so that linguistic diversity issue, instead of causing that as a barrier, so the technology is actually removing it. If we take a parallel to the current Spark project, that is where the idea of the tele-robotics for the stroke patients, the idea was that I think the relevance can be brought in this way. That is, Gandhiji always thought for the common people. And when you look into the self-reliant India, or when you are talking about the power Swaraj or the solar power to each and every people, and the concept that matches with the Swaraj or reliance, self-reliance of a country. So, in case of this also, say for the hapless stroke patients, so the technology needs to support them. And so that has some kind of relationship with the Gandhian philosophy of keeping human at the center. Now, when you look into the say the concept of self-reliant India, or say the current situation of the globalization, post-COVID scenario. Now, before the COVID came in, the pandemic situation, the concept of globalization was a consumer-centric globalization. That is, the companies also, or everyone, mainly the houses, industry houses, were looking for profit. Every person was considered as a consumer. So how much? So industry was looking for people who can only consume up to a certain extent, so that they can give back profit to the thing. But when the pandemic started and the lockdown has to be ensured, not only in India but across the globe, so industries has to look backward. And instead of a consumer-centric globalization, so now the society, whole world is moving to an humanity-centric globalization. And we understand this concept of humanity-centric globalization is something that Gandhiji has thought of, because human or the common people were at the center of his thought, along with the thought of nationalism. So, and along with that, the concept of non-violence, the concept of secularism, which there is the issue of the linguistic diversity, the religious diversity. So all these issues, I understand in today's date, today these will be considered. So we find a high relevance of what we are going to discuss today. What are the main topics of the Spark project, and how the Gandhian philosophy is being spread across the globe. So everything has a common vision point. With these wishes, I wish today's program a grand success, and today's deliberations obviously will help us to know Mahatma Gandhi in a much better. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your words of wisdom and inspiration. Now, I would like to invite Dr. Rajiv Dey to share a video presentation on the life of Mahatma Gandhi ji.
Yes.
Generations to come will scarce believe that such a one as this ever walked upon this earth. He was Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi. Today, if Gandhiji were to go round the country, what would he see and feel? 1969, the centenary of his birth. 2 trains, one from Amritsar and another from Rameshwaram, carry the message of the Mahatma. As the train traverses the plains of Punjab, it brings to mind the tragedy of Jallianwala Bagh, 1919, of the brave patriots who laid down their lives. From the ashes of yesterday is born the new Punjab and Haryana of today. A land of plenty, the granary of India. Our salvation can only come through the farmer, said Gandhiji. Their prosperity alone can make India a country fit to live in. Hundreds wait to see and read the message of the Mahatma. Many of us have never seen his beaming face in life, the face that moved the hearts of millions. He was born at Porbandar in 1869. His father, Karamchand, was a brave and truthful man. Putlibai, his mother, was a deeply religious woman. From his parents, in early childhood, he learnt his first lessons in truth, love, and ahimsa. He learnt never to fear anything save fear itself. These became his guiding stars throughout his life. Young Gandhi went to London to qualify as a barrister. Gandhi, the barrister, went to try his luck in South Africa. His experience there and the plight of his countrymen moved him deeply. That transformed an astute lawyer into a selfless satyagrahi and a leader of men. The second train from Rameshwaram travels through Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Mysore, and Andhra Pradesh. This exhibition on wheels is witness to the new India. In the country's reconstruction, Gandhiji did not rule out large industries and public utilities. He said, "I have not contemplated, much less advised, the abandonment of a single life-giving industrial activity. Machinery has its place. It has come to stay, but it must not be allowed to displace human labor." Nothing short of complete independence from Britain could heal the festering wounds inflicted upon the Indian people. With this in view, Gandhiji gave a call for complete non-cooperation at the Congress session held in Calcutta in 1920. This revives memories of the Mahatma's associations with the great leaders of Bengal. Gurudev Tagore, a kindred spirit. C.R. Das, a great patriot. Subhash Chandra Bose, the stormy petrel. Noah Khalik, 1946. In the raging fire of Hindu-Muslim antagonism walked the saint, barefooted, to wipe every tear from every eye. Let us forget all thoughts of I am Hindu, you are Muslim. Let us sink I and mine in a common Indian nationality. The need of the moment is mutual respect and tolerance. Today, we hang our heads in shame. Where have all those ideals gone? Champaran, Bihar, 1917. The first triumph in India of Gandhiji's unique weapon, Satyagraha, non-violent civil disobedience. Non-violence is never a method of coercion. It is a method of conversion. Gandhiji was a practical idealist, striving constantly for the India of his dreams. He said, when Hindustan rings with the echoes of Swadeshi, when Swadeshi pervades the country, and when the Swadeshi mantra resounds in every year, millions of men will have in their hands the key to the economic salvation of India. It is only through self-reliance that India can gain self-respect. Swadeshi is today bringing new changes all over the country under the 5-year plans. Village uplift was Gandhiji's first freedom. If the village perishes, India will perish too. If the 7 lakh villages of India are to be kept alive, and if peace, that is the root of all civilization, is to be achieved, we have to make the spinning wheel the center of all handicrafts. To him, the charkha was the symbol of Swaraj. Swaraj through self-reliance. And the revival of village industries was but an extension of the Khadi effort. Gandhiji's program of village uplift included everything that promoted the well-being of the villagers: health, education, sanitation, panchayati raj. By education, I mean an all-round drawing out of the best in child and man, body, mind, and spirit. A self-governing, self-reliant village, trading chiefly with nearby self-sufficient villages and importing a minimum of complicated appliances, was Gandhiji's recipe for democracy in India. Always his aim was Sarvodaya, the welfare of all, to be achieved through a peaceful revolution based on consent, not coercion. Bapu was the embodiment of love. Always his motto was, hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil. Gujarat, Gandhiji's and Sardar Patel's homestay. Sabarmati Ashram, the scene of many momentous events. The famous Dandi March. It was a battle of right against might. Always a friend of the downtrodden, Gandhiji woke the women of India. I believe in the proper education of the women of India. Woman is the companion of man, gifted with equal mental capacities. She has the same right of freedom and liberty as he. India's salvation depends on the sacrifice and the enlightenment of her women. Gandhiji was a firm believer in the cooperative way of life. We shall not derive the full benefits of agriculture until we take to cooperative farming. Bombay, the gateway of India. August 1942. Quit India. Gandhiji demanded nothing less than freedom and gave the nation the clarion call, do or die. Bombay's skyline has changed over the years. Industry and science have made rapid progress. But there is still poverty in the midst of plenty. Want and ignorance abound. Delhi, capital of India. The Bhuri colony, where Gandhiji often stayed. The cause of Harijans was dear to Bapu's heart, for he regarded all men as brothers and all India as his family. Untouchability is a sin. It is a grievous crime. On God's earth, nobody is low and nobody is high. Birth and observance of form cannot determine one's superiority or inferiority. He battled ceaselessly against untouchability. But he knew untouchability will not be removed by force, even of law. It can only be removed when the majority of Hindus realize that it is a crime against God and man and are ashamed of it. This blot on our society remains even today. The spirit of non-violence enlightened the world. But in the country from which it sprang, violence, hatred, strife prevail. Let the light of that spirit not flicker and die. Let the voice of a nation not cry out. The light has gone out of our lives, and there is darkness everywhere.
Over to you,
sir.
Navanita.
Thank you, sir, for the beautiful presentation. Now, I'd like to invite Dr. Rajiv Dey, the PI of the Spark project, to say a few words. Sir, over to you.
So, good morning, everyone present here, Honorable Director, Sir, Pant Sir, Director NERD, Alka Madam, a social activist, a legislature. She has a lot of dimensions, social worker. I can go on and on. So, my dear students, and my collaborator, project collaborator, Usman from Dalhousie University, Canada. So welcome to one and all. I know very little about the Gandhian philosophy, but I will make an attempt and be very brief about my perception, my understanding about the theme of today's webinar. So it will be a short presentation, maybe around 10 minutes or so. I would like to restrict myself. And most of the things that I will present are reported in many places, journals, news that I have referred to. And then I would only relate some of these writings, the thoughts that people have expressed, and I will at last try to relate that how in modern context all these thoughts actually is very useful. And now we can see our present government of India, we can see being in a teaching profession also, that they are coming up with various new policies. And if you look at the name of the policies that are being implemented in the country, has some linkage with some of the thoughts and philosophies that were promoted a century ago by our father of the nation. So here I go with my presentation now. So excuse me if there are some perception which you do not agree, but as I always say that I know very little about the Gandhian thoughts. Okay. So we are here, as our director sir has said, to celebrate 150th birth anniversary of our father of the nation. So it is 1869 to 290, 150 years. It's post 150 birth anniversary celebration. A quick recap of Gandhiji's life. You have seen in videos, it is found everywhere. 2nd October 1869 in Porbandar, which is a coastal town in Gujarat. He was born. He had his schooling from a nearby place that time called Rajkot. Now it is a district in Gujarat. And I could relate myself that my technical education back in 1987 started from the same place when I went from Northeast India to study my diploma in education, engineering, in a place called Morbi, a very small town close to Rajkot in Kathiawar region of Gujarat. In May 1883, Gandhiji got married under this child marriage tradition that was there in my days also in that particular part of the country. And he was married at the age of 13, if I'm not wrong, to a 14-year-old girl, Kasturba Gandhi, that time. So on 4th September 1888, he traveled to London, we know, to study law, and his dream to become a barrister, we know about, we heard it in video. But he somehow returned back to India again in 1891 and tried practicing law in Mumbai and then in Rajkot and many places. But I think it was not so successful profession for him, because something more was waiting in his life. In 1893, he again traveled to South Africa, and there he spent most of the time, as we can see that he stayed there until 1940, participating in Zulu War movement and other war movements there. And that was his stay in South Africa, we all know, we have studied, was the turning point to think beyond the profession, beyond the work, and start realizing that the sufferings of the people, the poor people, the underprivileged, marginalized people, that feeling start developing after he stayed there. And there are many stories and incidences there. So as we know, his career in law was not very successful. And then again, he returned back in India, and his struggle for Indian independence that started from 1915 and lasted till 1945. So this is a quick recap of Gandhiji's Langton bread, that how, because early part he was not directly in Indian independence movement, but it was in the later part. So all big philosophies and thoughts started coming out during that period. The practice of those thoughts started coming out in that period. What he learned from his life experiences were translated into those thoughts and implemented in the Indian society. So what I would like to talk here is about Mahatma and machines. There are a lot of controversies about Mahatma Gandhi and technology, or his dislikes about the machine. So some of the literatures that I have gone through, and I tried to understand that what exactly is it. So Mahatma is often portrayed in many places as a man against modern living and as one against modern machinery. So there are a lot of debates, a lot of critiques one can find on this. But more we read, more we uncover that his philosophies were different. He was not against the technology. So in his lifetime, he always warned against the negative use of machines that could enslave the generation of Indians. So don't do anything, find any technology for your own benefit, but for the benefit of masses. That was his slogan. So he was never against, as I could understand, he was not against machine. Contrary to popular belief, Mahatma Gandhi understood the role of machine in modern life and also its benefit. So we have seen it in video also that he was not against it. But his way of preaching things were different. His philosophy was different. So let me read out an article from Times Now, published in 2019, 2nd October. So it is quite often believed that Mahatma Gandhi was opposed to modern life and machines, but Gandhiji really opposed to machinery and promise of modern living. So father of our nation, Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi is known for many things, from his thoughts on caste, creed and religion to his teaching of ahimsa and communal harmony. Mahatma Gandhi was a man who crafted the future of our country with the power of his idea. However, despite his ability to accept contemporary ways of living without distancing himself from the teaching of the past, Mahatma was somebody who till the very end remained wary of what modern way of life could bring with itself in future. And the biggest proof of this is oft-cited distrust of technology and impact it could have on human life. Throughout his life, Gandhiji remained skeptical about the role of modern technology could play in our life, and did his bit in persuading people to steer clear of industrial revolution that was sweeping over Western world and had slowly started to take root in India. In his attempt to stop the industrialization of India along the lines of what was being seen in the West, Gandhiji also became a vocal critic of the growing use of machines for increasing manufacturing output. In one of his more famous works, before. In the chapter, he explained how modern civilization was using machinery as a tool to benefit a few by bleeding the common folk dry. While on the surface, all of these may make Mahatma appear as a man completely opposed to machines and modernity. The reality was far from it. The fact of the matter is that all the symbols that Gandhiji used to invoke hope and pride in the heart of millions of Indians, it was a machine, the famous charkha, that became, he used the charkha as a symbol of hope for a new tomorrow, one that could give a generation born under colonial rule the courage to stand up on its own and break free of the shackles put in place by the British Empire. A closer look at Gandhiji's life also reveals how he did not fear modernity or machines, but rather means as a modern tool of effectively enslaving the masses. In 1921, Gandhiji even expressed how he believed machinery could be answer to the problem of Indian masses. He said, "I would favor the use of most elaborate pauperism and resulting idleness if we avoid it. I have suggested hand spinning as the only ready means of driving away penury and making famine of work and wealth impossible. The spinning humble way, I have tried to secure improvements in it in keeping with the special conditions of India. Is that we create or we want to create should address the conditions of a country. So the country, different country have their different needs, their different conditions. So just getting a technology and following West is not a solution for a country or self-reliant. So that's what we can see the present government is telling about an indigenous technology which will address the needs of the country, the conditions of the country. So that's what is one relevance that we are finding in today's modern context. Feared machines and modernity is an oft repeated reality that the future oppressive colonial structure that used this machine as tools. So this is an article from where we can give a summary to our students, to young generation, that Gandhiji was for machines.
I think there was a bit of a network problem. Sir's connection got cut off. So let me contact Sir once and let's see if he's able to resolve the situation.
But it either hand or one leg in a natural way in the rural cottage of India. So there are many conditions that were given. It means it was an innovation driven too. So he was talking about an innovation. He was trying to tell that come up with a technology, come up with a machine, a machinery that can satisfy our need. So in modern context, computer is a mass product. So if I now relate, computer is a mass product this day, like a swinger machine or spinning wheel those days. So Gandhiji would not have opposed such machines. Rather, he would have pushed to make it even cheaper, simpler, and functional for a common man. So it will be wrong to say he would have opposed computer or information technology, but as long as it reaches mass, he was always in favor of it. So there is a famous saying that I have found: a company from Bangalore, most of us technocrats we know. A company from Bangalore back in 2000, 2001 tried making a computer that was simple, cheap, and functional. It was called Simputer. New York Times reported around that time that this is a computing as it would have looked if Gandhi had invented it. So when Apple and MacBooks and Windows XPs were coming into the market, these were the advertising line that were used those days. So and it was pointing towards actually a computer that was back in 2001 conceived in India. So there are a lot of stories that why computer was not successful in our country. So there are very many reports, very many reasons. So where have we gone wrong that this computer was not a successful story for India? So you can see that this is a team who developed computer. This was even 6 years before Apple would have launched its iPhone. It was discovered.
Excuse me,
many
sir.
know. Yes.
Sir, sir, your presentation is actually gone. It's not visible. If you could present it again.
Is it coming?
Yes, sir. It is showing now.
Okay. So this is the computer that was made indigenously by Indian scientists in IISc Bangalore at that point of time. But not many know that the computer had an accelerometer in 2004. Not only that, it also had a handwritten annotation feature that was later popularized by Samsung Galaxy Note, launched in 2011. So just think about that there are people in our country who really believe in this philosophy of indigenous technology. Just think that before iPhone, if this computer for rural India, this computing technology would have come into the market and would have sustained that which has accelerometer in 2004 when no iPhones, because nowadays these mobiles are none other than a computing devices. So where have we gone with the mobile technology or the computing technology? So what I believe, modern context, this Make in India is very much relevant to Gandhian thought of Hindu Swaraj. So following those, I think we are now thinking and moving in that direction, trying to imbibe those thoughts back again for our indigenous technology, which is a mapping to an Hindu Swaraj, I believe. Another important thing that I would like to highlight here is the crafts and Indian science education. Gandhiji's educational scheme was based on an emphasis on the role of manual work, practical training, and the use of vernacular as a medium of instruction. Gandhiji was keen to break vice-like grip of English medium that we have on education in science. He cited Japan as an example of an educational system that taught science in the vernacular. To teachers and the students of the Gujarati Vidyapith, He urged the learning of science through vernacular, adopting English words wherever technically necessary, but giving explanations only in Gujarati. Gandhiji was convinced with utterly false idea that intelligence can be developed only through book reading, should give place to the truth that quickest development of mind can be achieved by artisan's work being learned in a scientific manner. So this is something that we now tell our students to do more of practice. Whatever you find in book, do and practice, investigate, and then try to believe on that. So in modern context, for teachers also, we really believe that time has come now. Just reading a piece of book is not enough. If really we talk of self-reliant India, indigenous technologies, so this is again a mapping to a Gandhian thought. Gandhiji's remark on science education was, under my scheme, there would be more and better libraries, laboratories, and research institutes. Under it, we should have an army of chemists, engineers, and other experts who will reveal servants of the nation and answer varied and growing requirements of people who are becoming increasingly conscious of their rights and wants. These experts would speak not a foreign language, but the language of the people. The knowledge gained by them will be the common property of the people. Only then would there be truly original work instead of mere imitation, and the cost evenly and justly distributed. What I could find the relevance here is, in modern context, new education policy, NEP 2020, which was released by Narendra Modi ji maybe last month, is relevant to the Gandhian thought of Nai Talim, the new education, that if someone visits Sabarmati Ashram in Ahmedabad, he can see a small institute where he tried with his new education policy and training the minds in science. So I will end now with my thoughts. So you can see Stramos is a company in Finland which manufactures LED screen, and it is exclusively designed, you can see, in Finland, and has really done a revolution in LED screen and what all it can do. So the CEO and founder of this company, Nabakumar, is from Manipur and a batchmate of mine in Nerist. He is a founder patented of this LED screen that is being used. So let me tell about Nabakumar, who also knowingly or unknowingly followed the dream of Gandhian thoughts. When in final year he was asked that which job are you going to do? He told that I am not going to do job after BTech, because job will come running after me, because in his second year of his BTech, he found out the Anjuta development studio for Linux, which is user-friendly, and now Ubuntu has taken place. As a freelancer coder, in second year of his BTech, he worked with a lot of people and has his contact, and that was his dream. Then we asked that you will definitely be going to US then. He said, no, I will be in Manipur and I will be connected with the world and I will be doing something great. So that was his vision. He stayed from 2001 to 5, but later he said, I cannot do anything being in India. And then as a freelancer, Nokia hired him for their development project of Nokia N5 smartphone, and he was a lead portfolio for Nokia initiatives. Later on, he developed that smartphone technology and the software for Nokia as a freelancer, and later he was employed also, but he did not stick to it. He developed his LED screens, and which became very famous. Later on, he patented it. He is simply a BTech, but he also wanted to do something, but we don't have an infrastructure. Like Simputer failed, and he also felt that I cannot be here and do anything, so he slowly moved out of India. Now he has come up recently with Fortum. He is a project manager, innovation and ventures, which are creating solutions for electric vehicles, clean technology, climate change. And now you can see Fortum has come to India, and their advertising theme is cleaner air for India with proven low NOx technology, which is again an innovation of. So these students, there are so many students like this in India. The potentials are available, but I believe somewhere something we have gone wrong. We could not sustain, or we could not keep them in India, give them. So now some of the policies which are being announced by Indian government, what we see being in education, that startup, entrepreneurship, providing support to them, making India project. Had it been there back in 2000, I think this young talented people or engineers definitely would have given us a technology in hardware and software, and I think we would have been in a much better position. So before I conclude, these are some of the snapshot and glimpses that I can show you. That I visited 2017, the Sabarmati Ashram with my family. It was a nice thing. This is Sabarmati River and the ashram. This is something which I really like. This message of Gandhiji, my life is my message. And this is the iconic three icons that we all used to Swadesi and Swaraj that I have tried to relate, the Gujarat Vidyapit that I have talked about, Nai Talim, and these educational experiments that he had in these Vidyapit. So thank you. This is my small knowledge that I could gather and I could relate with my profession and technology about the Gandhian thoughts, and that is what I can present here. I don't know how it was, but this is somewhat my perception. Thank you all.
Thank you,
So
sir.
anyway, presentation was all gone again. I don't know why. Anyway,
There was a bit of a network problem in the middle,
yes,
but we got to see it. So thank you, sir. That was very inspirational and very informative. So moving on, today we have amongst us Professor Alka Desai Sharma. Dr. Alka Desai Sharma holds a PhD degree in economics from the University of Bombay. Presently, she is working as a Dean, Student Welfare, the University of Science and Technology, Meghalaya. She has established International Center for Gandhian Studies at the university, and with the help of the center, working with the jail inmates of Guwahati jail. She is a renowned and well-known public figure from the state of Assam. She has been elected as MLA for Nalbari district twice in 2000 and 2006, respectively. Besides a public figure, she is a writer too. She has written extensively on issues related to higher education, choice of careers, Gandhian philosophy, etc. She has also written extensively in Gujarati newspapers on issues related to environment, inclusiveness, and used to write a column on women's issues in a Gujarati daily called Janmabhoomi. She has another dimension as a social worker. She established an NGO called Nagin Sharma Memorial Society in 2000, which is actively involved in working with the marginalized sections of the society on issues related to health, education, livelihood, and governance. She also established Akshar Foundation 2013, an innovative school model for training 80 students who were not going to school from different age groups. To these children and the parents of the children, the foundation is working on larger issues faced by communities like deforestation, sustainable development, etc. She used to run Balwadi Kendra in slums of Vilepale, Mumbai. Professor Alka Sharma has published several academic papers in different peer-reviewed journals, participated in many symposia as a resource person or chairperson in educational and social institutes across the northeastern India, led a delegation of 6 eminent people and visited Bangladesh as part of Track 2 diplomacy mission, led a delegation of USTM and facilitated the MOU signing between the University of Dhaka and USTM. Today, she will be delivering a talk on the internal and external engineering of Gandhi's message. Madam, I'll hand it over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Nabanita, for a very generous introduction. Good morning, everybody. Honorable Director NIT, Honorable Director and most respected Pansar, Rajiv, other colleagues, delegates from Canada, and dear students. Without giving a lengthy introduction, let me go to the basic topic that I'm going to discuss today, and that is the internal and external engineering of the message of Mahatma Gandhi, the message of the father of the nation, whom we refer to as, who is Mahatma Gandhi. Now, friends, Mahatma Gandhi has said that my life is my message. Now, this itself is a very, very tall statement, especially in today's world when most of the people, whether they are bureaucrats or whether they are politicians or other renowned people in different walks of life, most of the people, they do not speak what they think and they do not act as to what they speak. So to say that my life itself is my message, only a person like Mahatma Gandhi said that my life is my message. And if you look at Mahatma Gandhi's life, you will find that there was an engineer in him. Because when we talk about engineering or when we talk about an engineer, what does an engineer do? An engineer understands a problem by asking questions, and from the data that he gets, he tries to develop models that will be helpful in solving the problem. He tries to check the data that he has with other external data. He tries to follow a certain ethics. He tries to externalize the situation, and he ensures that the models work in congruence with the principles of nature. So Mahatma Gandhi has done precisely the same thing, and that is why I have chosen this particular topic, that the internal and external engineering in the message of Mahatma Gandhi. Because this is a technical institute, NIT Silchar is the premier technical institute of Northeast India. So I feel that the engineering students will appreciate the engineering aspect of Mahatma Gandhi's message. Now, coming to his life or coming to his works, Rajiv has given a very detailed and scholarly presentation. For me, it will not be possible to go so much into details, because if we see, there is no aspect of life where Gandhiji has not made any comment. Whether you talk about inequality, whether you talk about international relations, whether you talk about inclusiveness, you talk about environment, you name it, and Gandhiji has already had something to say. So his life is so encyclopedic that it is very difficult to do justice to each and every aspect of what he has said. So my presentation is basically, I intend to make it a thought-provoking presentation so that the students or the people who are listening to the presentation will be motivated to study more of Gandhi. They will be motivated to act on the principles of Gandhi, and they will be in a position to appreciate what Mahatma Gandhi has said and what he has done. So engineering aspect apart, or engineering aspect notwithstanding, let us look at the different concepts which Mahatma Gandhi has given. Think about the concept of trusteeship. Trusteeship, satyagraha, khadi. These are some of the basic concepts which Mahatma Gandhi has given. And let us look at the engineering aspect of it. Now, the concept of trusteeship, very interesting concept. What Mahatma Gandhi says is that whatever you earn or whatever you possess is something which you do not own, but you are merely a trustee of it. In other words, Gandhiji always talked about simple living and high thinking. He always believed that to each according to his need, but not according to his greed, will solve the problem of poverty, will solve the problem of destitution, of inequalities in the world. So this concept of trusteeship embodies all this. And as I said in the beginning, the internal and the external aspect of Mahatma Gandhi's message are like two sides of the same coin. In other words, internal aspects are the micro aspects and external aspects are the macro aspects. And Gandhiji always believed that unless you can preach, unless you can practice, you should never preach. So when one practices what one preaches, automatically the reflection of this is found in the entire universe. And when all the people practice what they preach, we find that a macro movement is generated. So coming back to the concept of trusteeship, if everybody believes in the concept of trusteeship, or if not full trusteeship, at least the person is not very greedy, then there will be no problem of poverty in the world, because the technology today permits us to have enough food production, enough houses, enough clothing, enough access to education to all the people of the world. It is not that we are lacking in technology, but where the humankind is failing is because of lack of proper distribution. In other words, our economic theories are based on the capitalist theories or the consumerist theories, which says that only those people who have money, their bonds count in the market. And in economics, most students of economics would know that ability and willingness to pay for a commodity makes you a consumer. You may be very much in need of a particular medicine, but if you do not have the ability to pay for it, then you are out of the market. Your demands doesn't enter into the market because you do not have the ability to pay. But think about the concept of trusteeship. Think about the dictum that to each according to his need and not according to his greed. So this simple principle is observed, and if it is allowed to reflect at the macro level, then we will not have any problem of poverty, we will not have any problem of destitution, we will also not have any environmental hazards. This is just one aspect. There are other aspects also. For example, the concept of satyagraha. Now, satyagraha is a very simple term. Satya ka agra. And Gandhiji believed that truth is God. For him, truth is God. Now, satyagraha as a concept, it gives tremendous power to an individual to challenge mighty empires, to challenge big governments, and so on. And that is why we find that people like Martin Luther King, people like the Dalai Lama, they have always talked about the fact that they have been inspired by Mahatma Gandhi in their peaceful endeavor to bring about a better world. Now, think of the fact that India was ruled by British, and British was so powerful that it was said that the sun never sets in the British Empire. Such a mighty empire. And such a mighty empire was brought on its knees just on the basis of the concept of satyagraha. There are many aspects of satyagraha, and we don't have time to discuss all this. But I would like to narrate the concept, the event of Dandi Satyagraha, Dandi March or salt satyagraha as it is known as. Now, what was the salt satyagraha? The salt satyagraha was that one 63-year-old man, Mahatma Gandhi, he decided to walk from his ashram in Sabarmati ashram to a place in the coastal part of Gujarat, which is known as Dandi, with some 80 of his followers. The action part of Dandi March or action part of Salt Satyagraha was that Gandhiji believed that India was independent. They didn't want British to rule. They thought British rule was illegal and immoral. So he said the British have no right to rule over India. And because they have no right to rule over India, they have no right to impose tax on Indian resources. Salt was an important Indian resource. Many people made a living out of cultivating salt in the salt pans in the coastal areas. And so Gandhiji's plan was that he will walk down from Sabarmati Ashram to Dandi, a distance of about 240 kilometers, and he will go and pick up some salt without paying the tax. Picking up the salt was symbolic action to indicate that Indians are free. Indians will not pay tax to the British for using the resources which belong to India. So the action part was very simple. The concept was very simple. People were very few. Those were the days when there was no WhatsApp, no telephone so easily accessible, and means of communications were very few. The British Empire was mighty British Empire where the sun never set. And just imagine a 63-year-old man walking from Sabarmati Ashram to Dandi with some 80 followers. By the time the march reached Dandi, it had swelled to more than 50,000 people. Not only that, when they came across Gujarat and Maharashtra, they halted in the different villages. They talked about why untouchability is wrong, why Khadi should be promoted, why the British have no right to rule over India. Mahatma Gandhi also talked about why Khadi is the only way in which decentralization is possible, in which millions of poor people can get livelihood, and so on. So on the way, it was a great educative exercise. And by the time they reached Dandi, the group had swelled to 50,000 people, and they were all believers of ahimsa. They were all believers of non-violence. So as soon as Mahatma Gandhi picked up the salt, he was picked up by the police, British police, and jailed. Another set of satyagrahis came. They were mercilessly beaten by the police. They did not protest. Actually, the number of police people were in duty were very few, and the satyagrahis outnumbered them. They could have easily overpowered them and beaten them to death. But no, they were the followers of Mahatma Gandhi. So they just quietly broke the rule, civil disobedience as it is called. They broke the rule and they were beaten mercilessly. Another batch of satyagrahis came. They were also beaten mercilessly. No UN cry was raised. No hands were raised. Though all of them were able-bodied, they could have very well matched with those police people in terms of power. Batches after batches, people came and picked up salt. And just this small action of picking up salt set the whole nation on fire. Everywhere in the coastal areas, people picked up salt without paying tax to the government. And even in those days, when telephones and WhatsApps and Facebooks were not there, the entire world came to know that the mighty British Empire is unable to challenge Mahatma Gandhi's army of non-violent people. So, Satyagraha is a concept which is basically an internal feeling, a decision of an individual. It has great external ramification, and the ramifications are so big that even the mighty British Empire was challenged. So this is just one example. If you talk about Khadi, we can talk about machines, And Rajiv has very beautifully pointed out that Gandhi was not against machine, but he was against man becoming slave of machine. We should be in control, and machines should assist us to reduce the drudgery, to increase the production, to make us more modern. But man should not become a slave of machine. That was his concept. So Mahatma Gandhi's concepts are very much relevant even now in independent India. In the world today, they are most relevant. People like Albert Einstein had very beautiful things to say about Mahatma Gandhi. That 100 years from now, people will scarcely believe that a person like Mahatma Gandhi actually walked on this earth. This was the great person that we had in India, and we are all fortunate that we are born in the same place that Mahatma Gandhi was born. And for Indians, I always tell my students that Mahatma Gandhi is there in everybody's life. The journey of each person is to get access to him. Why do I say that Mahatma Gandhi is there in everybody's life? I ask my students, and everybody smilingly says, Mahatma Gandhi is in our pockets. Our currency notes have a smiling picture of Mahatma Gandhi. But Mahatma Gandhi in our pockets will not help us bring about a social transformation that we are looking for. From the pocket, the Mahatma Gandhi should come in our heart. And if we follow the principles of Mahatma Gandhi, which are so many, beginning with truth is God, non-violence, concept of khadi for decentralization, concept of trusteeship, concept of sarvodaya, concept of civil disobedience, and so on. Mahatma Gandhi had something or the other to say about each and every topic in the world which is relevant till today. And Gandhi was a person who never just talked. He experimented with himself, and only then he preached. So this is one quality which we all need to develop. There are very many interesting stories from Mahatma Gandhi's life. However, when I look at the watch, I consult the watch, the time is limited. The time allotted to me was 20 minutes. So I think I am within my limits. I am thankful to NIT Silchar for organizing such a wonderful program on Mahatma Gandhi's life, philosophy, and the relevance to modern India, and for giving me this opportunity to have this deliberation before a very distinguished audience, making use of technology, of course, because we are all connected by this network. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, madam, for your words of wisdom. Listening to you was thought-provoking and very inspirational. Now, our collaborator of the Spark project, Mohammed Usman Assad, PhD Research Fellow from Dalhousie University, Canada, is here with us. Mohammed Usman Assad received his BSc degree in Electrical Engineering from the University of Punjab, Lahore, in 2010, and his MSc degree in Electrical Engineering from the Government College University, Lahore, in 2015. He is currently pursuing his PhD degree with the Department of Electrical Engineering, Dalhousie University, Canada. He served as the president of the Society of Engineering Excellence 2009 at the Electrical Engineering Department, University of Punjab, Lahore, and contributed in the research activities of the society. He has over 6 years of teaching and research experience as an assistant professor in the University of Lahore and has published extensively in IEEE conferences and international journals. His research interests include the intelligent control of robotics and power systems. He was a recipient of the Gold Medal Award for his paper on ball scoring robot at the 24th IEEE International Multi-Topic Symposium in 2009 and the Silver Medal Award for his paper on Neural Controller for Robot Navigation at the 26th IEEE International Multi-Topic Symposium in 2011. So today he will be delivering his speech on Gandhi and secularism. So I'd like to invite Mr. Mohammed Usman Assad to say a few words.
Thank you, Dr. Nabanita, for giving a generous introduction. Just confirm me that everybody can hear me.
Your voice is
Yes,
audible
sir.
here.
Thank you, Dr. Nabanita, for your feedback. I would like to congratulate NIT on behalf of Dalhousie University for organizing this such a beautiful seminar to celebrate 150th birthday of Mahatma Gandhi and remember his philosophical thoughts and in its implications to the society. And I would also like uh, to say welcome to all of the other honorable uh, delegate members, Director NERC, Dr. Rajiv Dey, uh, and Alaka ji, uh, and all the other dear students of NIT. It's really hard to say something at this part of the night because it's 3 a.m. here, and I'm still, resisting my sleep as I'm a human being. So um, I will try to, you know, keep fighting with my sleep and try to speak about Mahatma Gandhi ji life a bit. So I chose the topic today. Um Today I would like to speak about Mahatma Gandhi concept of secularism. But as I listened a lot of the speeches by Lakaji and Dr. Rajiv Dey in very detail, and they have talked about Gandhiji life and tried to correlate Gandhiji's life aspects with the development and technology and how he has supported machines and industrializations and stuff in the India. So I would like to start as I chose the topic of Mahatma Gandhi's concept of secularism, and I would like to start by his quote that our innermost prayer should be a Hindu should be a better Hindu, a Muslim a better Muslim, a Christian a better Christian. Nowadays, as you know, there are various secularism ideas present in today's society. The first one is the political secularism, second one is the constitutional secularism, and third is political party secularism, and final one is the Mahatma Gandhi's idea of secularism. And as I chose to give a highlight of Mahatma Gandhi's idea of secularism, so I will go through some of his ideas of secularism point by point. Then I'll come to the relevance of Mahatma Gandhi's aspects and concepts and philosophical thoughts to and try to correlate with the technology and the self-reliance, which is the topic of the today's debate. So what he said about the secularism idea is all religious communities inhabiting a particular territory must live with continuous ease and comfort with one another. Second, this is a people dependent nation, one that Gandhi believed was already a part of popular Indian conciseness, but jeopardized in the modern times by the communal politics. Support from the state is must to showcase that is not a partial to any one particular religion. The state must help restore communal harmony, and state should perform its primary duty of maintaining harmony to prevent political alienation. The state must distance itself equally from all the religious. So, moving further, as I listened most of the speeches, especially Alakaji mentioned most of the concept of Gandhiji life, and she, um, puts a light on most of the aspects and the concept that he mentioned and he delivered. Um, so one of the concept that I come across while I was doing the literature on Gandhiji, as I also have a very little knowledge of about his life, as Dr. Rajiv said in his speech. So Gandhiji has uh, uh, initiated a revolution and motivated Indian people to use Indian products. And correct me if I'm wrong. So it's the idea of Gandhiji is to promote the domestic products and to discourage the foreign products, which is, I think, is a remarkable idea to promote the domestic industry in India. And to be very honest, in Canada, I'm living here for more than 3 years now. So here in Canada, they are following the same concept of Gandhiji, where they have their craft markets where people from the local area they bought their products all together in Halifax, and they showcase their products, their handmade products, and that's the way the government is able to kind of give a platform to the people who can earn by their own domestic products. So I think Gandhiji's the idea is following in Canada also, where they are promoting their domestic products. Um, and obviously, it will give enormous opportunity for the local people to showcase their talent, whether they are artists or um, I have come across lots of markets, craft market in Halifax, where I saw this idea of Gandhiji. Then when I was listening all of the speeches of the keynotes delegates here, then I could relate that this is the same idea that the Canada government is following. Secondly, I think the concept that Alakaji has mentioned, that Gandhiji is not against machines, but is against becoming a slave of machines. I think that's the idea is where our project significance highlighted, as we are doing a collaborative project on teleoperation. And in teleoperation, you have a chance of operating a patient in a remote area. Let's say we do have a patient in India, and you want to get the expertise from some North American surgeon. And through this development of machines, we can actually benefit the local Indian society, and we can involve, we can have the expertise from the North American surgeons and specialists, and could benefit the local community through this concept. So I think, so what Alakaji has mentioned, so that's the same idea of this project that we are doing. And I'm really happy that as this project is being funded by the government of India, and we are following the same roadmap as Gandhiji has mentioned in his life, of benefiting the local community. How can we benefit it? I mean, it's hard to to actually pay highly paid surgeons to come over to their regions and communities to operate their patients. So it's a really a good idea of this teleoperation, that we are building a prototype uh, to actually give a kind of platform to the patients who are suffering from strokes. So teleoperation is, I think, that's the key concept that the Gandhiji has delivered in his life, and see, we are following it. And this project is, Dr. Rajiv will agree that this project will really is a kind of thing that if we are able to make a prototype that is actually being implemented in the local hospitals, where we can get the North American surgeons' expertise. We could benefit the Indian community, local community, anywhere in India. So that's I would like to, that's the point that I would like to mention about this one. And thank you very much for inviting me as a to give some of my thoughts into this wonderful event organized by NIT to celebrate the 150th birthday. And I really want to share the 150th birthday, the picture, the logo that has been designed. I was looking at it, and see the Mahatma Gandhi. He's holding a stick, and that's the one. And that's the amazing concept of charkha is the charkha is the zero, right? So that's amazing concept, I think, and I really liked it. So I really wanted to share with all of the guys whoever designed it. That's amazing, and that's amazing experience. And thank you very much for inviting me and giving me a chance to actually share my ideas on Gandhiji philosophy. Thank you.
Thank you, Muhammad Usman Asad, for sharing your time with us, despite the inconvenient timing on your side of the globe. And we thank you very much for the very informative session. Now, we have invited Professor Rajiv Mohan Pant, Director NIRD, Guwahati. Professor Rajiv Mohan Pant has been associated with higher education since 1986 and has taught economics and management in some premier academic institutions of India, such as BIT Misra, NIFFT Ranchi, NERIST, Nirjuli, Arunachal Pradesh. Professor Pant visited many universities to deliver invited lectures in the country and abroad. He also offers consultancy on behavioral aspects of various organizations. Professor Pant has more than 100 research papers and 8 books to his credit. He is also a member of Scientific and Technical Advisory Group (STAG) of National Mission on Himalayan Studies, Ministry of Environment and Forest and Climate Change, Government of India. He is also a member of the Scientific Advisory Committee GBPNIHE, Almora, MOEFNCC. Dr. Pant is also associated with some of the working groups of the NITI Aayog. He is presently heading the National Institute of Rural Development and Panchayati Raj, Guwahati, under MORD Government of India, as director since 2nd September 2014. Today, he is among us to deliver his talk on Mahatma Gandhi and his views on rural development. Now, I'd like to request Professor Rajiv Pant to address the gathering. Sir, please.
Thank you, Navonita. How can I share can you allow me to share my PowerPoint?
Yes, sir, you can share it.
Please, just allow me to do that. Please bear it with me. It is taking a little longer. Yeah. Uh, Dr. Navonita, can you see the screen now? Is it visible?
Sir, not yet.
Okay. It is taking a little time.
Yeah.
I think I'll have to take some technical assistance from someone.
No issues, sir.
Still screen is not visible.
No, sir, it's not. So there is a present now button in the Google Meet.
Yeah, this is what I. Okay, I think should come now. Navanika, it is coming now.
No, sir, no, it's not showing.
Yes,
Sir, you can send me your presentation. I will present from
okay,
here.
I think now it will come. It will come. Yeah. All right. I hope you can see it now.
Yes,
Yes.
it is
Yeah,
coming.
that's
Yeah,
great. That's great. That's great. Yeah. Huh? Full. All right. Yeah. See? All right. I sorry for the inconvenience, and Honorable Professor Bandhu Padhyaji, Honorable Director NIT Silchar, respected Alaka Madam, Dr. Rajiv Dev, Usmanji from Dalhousie University, and esteemed delegates, dear students, very good morning to you all. Earlier speakers have already explained many things about the life. They have already spoken many things about the life of Mahatma Gandhi. Honorable Director NIT dwelt on that. Then Rajiv also explained it quite in detail. And after listening to Alaka Madam, I do not know what I'm going to present because I cannot match the eloquence of Alaka ji. But still, I will share a few things. And as I belong to rural development institution, I would like to share Mahatma's views on rural development. As we all know, Mahatma firmly believed that unless and until rural India is transformed, transformation of India will not be possible. Of course, many speakers, Rajiv and Alaka Madam, has also mentioned Einstein's statement. Let me also begin with that. Einstein said, generations to come will scarce believe that such a one as this ever in flesh and blood walked upon this earth. Such was the personality of Mahatma. Such great people like Einstein spoke such good things, not just Einstein, but as Alkaji mentioned, that even Martin Luther King, Dalai Lama, and even Mandela, even Aung San Suu Kyi, they all followed Gandhian principles and they all got Nobel Prize. So such was the greatness of Mahatma that people revered him. Mahatma very firmly believed that we inherited rural civilization. The vastness of our country, the vastness of the population, the situation and the climate of the country have, in my opinion, destined it for a rural civilization. Gandhiji had no doubt that India basically is destined to be a rural civilization. And he further says to uproot it and substitute it with an urban civilization seems to be an impossibility. It would be impossible to convert this into a kind of urban civilization. India, from every aspect, basically is a rural civilization, and this is where lies its future. And he says India's future lies in its villages. And when he talks about villages, his concept of villages, something really beautiful, something really, that is self-sufficient, neat and clean, where people can live happily. That was the concept of Mahatma. About that. That is what Mahatma thought about villages. During independence time, more than 7 lakh villages were there in the country, and almost 90% people were living in villages. 90% population was living in villages. So he had a dream about villages, and he did not want unplanned urbanization. In fact, he didn't want urbanization. He wanted villages to be developed in such a way that people will not even think of migrating to cities, or people will not even think of urbanization. I'm happy that students of NIT are attending this webinar, and I'm really thankful to NIT for giving me this opportunity to speak to young minds. Gandhiji wanted students to spend their vacations in villages, to understand the beauty that lies in villages, to understand the problems of villages and provide good solutions to them. And in fact, whenever I interact with students, I also advocate Gandhiji's this idea. Try to propagate this idea that students must do their summer internship or winter internship in villages so that they get better understanding. They understand India better. The ideal village of Gandhiji was very clear that if the villages perish, India will perish too. We have to make a choice between India of the villages that is as ancient as herself and India of the cities which are a creation of foreign domination. As we mentioned earlier, that India has a rural civilization. If villages die, India will also not survive. And Gandhiji believed that this urban culture, cities, they are the creation of foreign domination. It's not there in the essence of India. That's something foreign we have in our system. So villages must survive, must thrive, and we must strive to make villages great places to live. Gandhi's concept was, to have good, neat and clean villages. Sanitation was one of the important priorities. Domestic cleanliness, personal hygiene, healthcare. These were some of the things Gandhiji wanted to see in villages. Uh, this picture is from Northeast India. Some of you can recognize this village, I believe. This is of Maulingnong village, the cleanest village in Asia in Meghalaya. Uh, Truly living up to Gandhiji's expectation. Cleanest village you will not find. Uh, Even if tourists come and litter that place, local people adopting Gandhian approach, they will say thank you for visiting our village, but we want to keep it clean. You can see this, they are using local resources, to keep the village clean, and it is giving them very good opportunities to strengthen their livelihood aspects also. Gandhiji's concept was uh, federation. Gandhiji's village was a part of a federation where people will uh, have their own planning. People will be in a position to plan things for themselves. No pressure from outside. Okay? So decentralization, Gandhiji wanted village republics, and that would be possible only when decentralization of power is there. And on Gandhian principles, we have the concept of village panchayats now, where representatives are elected. Gandhiji perceived this way back, and we are following it now. And fortunately, a good step has been taken in this direction that now we have 73rd Amendment, which makes Panchayati Raj a kind of compulsory thing. This is the body Gandhiji perceived that planning to be done at grassroots level with the participation of people. And now the modern version of these panchayats, you can see this picture based on Gandhian principles. This is the panchayat ghar in Sikkim. This is Mallidhara Panchayat in Sikkim, which follows the same principle but in a very, very modern way. Because Gandhiji was always ahead of his time. Gandhiji was very modern in his approach. We all know. So they are having elected representatives. They are having gender equality. In fact, when I visited this panchayat and I was in fact, I was happy to see uh, women dominating the panchayat there. Most of the members were ladies. And when I asked them, do you want reservation of any kind here in this on the basis of gender? They asked me, ask our men counterparts if they want, it's fine. Otherwise, we are quite empowered. So this is the reality. Now things are changing at grassroots level. Means things are changing at national level as well. Decision making power now is evolved to the panchayat level. They have a fixed period of 5 years. This is what Gandhi had perceived, and now it's there in the reality. Self-sufficiency. Gandhiji wanted villages to be self-sufficient, especially uh, in, in the areas of basic needs, food, clothing, and other necessities. Gandhi wanted villages to be independent, especially on these basic necessities aspects. But at the same time, Gandhiji wanted interdependence as well. We shall have to produce more of what we can in order thereby to obtain an exchange what we are unable to produce. Gandhiji wanted interdependence, means good relationship with other neighbors, and Gandhiji's concept here is very much related to the Guardian theory of comparative advantage. We have surplus produce which we can exchange with others. We need not produce everything within our village. Okay? But basic necessities must be produced within the state, but at the same time, we must have a good relationship with our neighbors, interdependence. The village should produce food crops and cotton, but at the same time, uh, other things can also be brought from other villages. And Gandhiji further said coexistence. He believed in coexistence, not among human beings, but also with other things. Some land should also be earmarked for cattle and for a playground for adults and children. These are the Gandhiji believed in holistic development of villages, where we have animals, we are having you know good playground, parks for children, etc. The self-sufficiency, Gandhiji wanted neat and clean, prosperous villages with good facilities. Industrialization or mechanization, I think Dr. Rajiv and Professor Alaka, madam, has also mentioned that Gandhiji offered people, this represent Gandhiji on these aspects that Gandhiji was against machines, but he was not. He was ahead of his time, but he wanted machines to supplement human beings, not suppress. Gandhiji wanted to develop cottage industry because distribution of income is more just when we go for cottage industry. Employment and labor, Gandhiji wanted full employment creation within the village itself. Village economy for providing full employment to all its residents in the village. Now, most of the villages are facing the problems of out migration. And when people migrate from villages to cities, they do not only create problems for village sector, but they also create problems for cities. Now we have the infamous distinction of having the largest slum in Bombay, Dharavi. People from villages have migrated to metros like Bombay, Delhi, Calcutta, and a lot of slum areas have been created there, which are leading to several social problems, which are causing several social problems, several health problems, problems created by unhygienic life. So Gandhiji wanted, uh, you know, exploitation of rural resources in a sustainable manner, and uh, people will find their livelihood opportunities within their village itself. So, full employment to the people, full employment to the resources. Each man should be guaranteed employment to avoid migration to town. So, if people are engaged in rural areas, they will not feel the necessity to go to migrate to cities. Gandhiji believed in or he promoted dignity of labor, dignity of work. He was inspired by Ruskin and Tolstoy in this direction. He mentioned that he was influenced by Ruskin and Tolstoy, and he believed that a person who cannot work to earn his bread doesn't deserve his bread. And he very firmly believed that if all labored for their bread, then there would be enough food and enough leisure for all. So he always respected work, and now, on the basis of Gandhian principles, Government of India has launched this MG Narega. I'll talk about it a bit later. So people are working. In this picture, you will find most of the people engaged in this work are ladies because of this out migration concept is very high among uh, this male among these males. They migrate. So in fact, at one point of time in some of these states, we had the concept of feminization of villages, which only ladies were left in villages. And now even ladies have migrated. So now many villages are known as ghost villages. So that concept really is not good. So people should find employment, people should work, people should use their resources that are available in their own area. Gandhian model of development, especially rural development, basically spiritualistic. Gandhiji, as we all know, was very spiritualistic in his approach. He wanted value-based work rather than materialistic. His approach was value-based, not materialistic. Power concept, he wanted moral power to exist in the society, not force. So he prescribed moral guidance for solving social problems. Non-violence and truth, uh, non-violence, and he believed that the most powerful of all. Industrialization, cotton versus big industry. He basically was in favor of cottage industry because cottage industries lead to equal distribution of wealth, and concentration of wealth is not limited to just few hands. Labor intensive production versus capital intensive. He was basically for labor intensive because India had large, huge population, and considering his time, we needed to engage these people. We needed to provide employment to these people. So labor intensive production was his idea. Rural development for all over development. Rural development because 90% of the people lived in villages then during Gandhiji's time. And now also 68.8% people are living in villages. So if rural development is not given the top priority, country's development will simply be a mirage. Panchayati Raj for grassroots democracy. Uh, Now we have this 73rd Amendment, which makes it mandatory to have Panchayati Raj system, and we have three levels of governance: union government, state government, and the third and the most important is Panchayati Raj, which functions at grassroots level. And many people believe that panchayats are basically to execute plans that have come from the top. That's wrong. Panchayats are decision-making units. Panchayats have, panchayats are supposed to develop their own plans, what they want, basically. And Gandhiji always believed in bottom-up planning, and this is what we see now with the emergence of NIT Aayog. Ownership versus custodianship. Alakaji has dealt with this trusteeship. He believes that natural resources are God's gift, and no individual has complete control over it. If someone has access to some natural resources, he or she is just a trustee of that. It is to be used for the benefit of all. And giving and receiving. Now, especially in COVID situation, now we see this happening in reality. A lot of people are now going towards philanthropic ways, and now people are getting the joy of giving. Gandhiji visualized that long, long ago. Because pleasure of giving is more than pleasure of receiving. So India lives in its villages. That was Gandhiji's message, and villages need to be transformed. I'll have to rush through it because I have another meeting very quickly. Rural development aspect, ideal village, Gandhiji's ideal village. In fact, here we are talking about the present rural development policy inspired by Mahatma. Uh, we have Sansad Adarsh Gram Yojana, a very ambitious scheme where the people's representative, they adopt a village and they try to develop it. Smart villages, uh, you can see this gentleman, Himanshu Patel, the Pradhan of Punsari village. And he has developed this village into a smart village, and Punsari is the first smart village. And of course, it has come up in the land of Mahatma Gandhi only in Gujarat. And look at the confidence of Himanshu. He says, our village is so clean that I challenge everyone coming to village that if one finds even a single mosquito in this village, I will award them rupees 1 lakh. In this village, they provide good, it's a very neat and clean village. They have good medical facilities with almost zero infant mortality rate, in zero MMR. They have solar lighting system. They have CC cameras fitted everywhere. This village is almost crime-free village. Decentralization, as I mentioned earlier, you can have a look at the Sikkim Balidara Panchayat. This is the inside view of Sikkim Balidara Panchayat, and the good work that they have done there has brought them many laurels. Gandhian village, we talked about self-sufficiency. Now we have Atmanirbhar Bharat concept. Prime Minister Krishi Sichai Yojana, Prime Minister Krishi, doubling farmers' income. All these schemes are there to make villages Atmanirbhar. Industrialization, cottage industries are being promoted, startup, and then we have rural-urban, basically to utilize available resources in rural clusters. Employment and labor, we have MG Narega, Mahatma Gandhi National uh, Employment Guarantee Scheme. So these are, I'm slightly in a hurry, so I'll close here, and I'm sure Gandhian concepts will still show us the way in years, and Gandhi's concept of Sarvodaya means progress for all, universal uplift, that these principles will continue to guide us, and I'm sure rural sector will transform, and this will have a pull-out effect on national economy. And finally, if we really want to realize Gandhi's dream, we'll have to, imbibe his message, be the change you want to see in this world. On this note, I thank you all for giving me this opportunity. It was indeed a pleasure being here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. So now I would request Navanita to quickly have vote of thanks.
Thank you, sir. It is my privilege and immense pleasure to propose the vote of thanks in this international webinar on relevance of Gandhian thoughts in modern context. On behalf of the organizing team, I express my sincere thanks to our Honorable Director, Sir, Professor Shivaji Bandyopadhyay. Sir, we are grateful to you for your words of encouragement and for giving us consent to organize this webinar. This event would not have been possible without your support and motivation. Thank you, sir. I extend my gratitude to our beloved HOD Electrical Engineering, Dr. J.P. Mishra, sir, for his support and encouragement for conducting this webinar. I would like to extend my sincere thanks and gratitude to our eminent guest speakers, Professor Alka Desai Sharma, Professor Rajiv Mohan Pant, and Muhammad Usman Asad for sharing their valuable time with us and enlightening us with their keynote lectures. On behalf of the organizing team, I would like to convey my thanks to IIT Kharagpur and SPARC, Ministry of Human Resource Development, Government of India, for giving us the motivation and opportunity to celebrate Gandhiji on an international platform. Also, I acknowledge the help and support provided by NIT Silchar and Dalhousie University, as well as by the Department of Electrical Engineering, NIT Silchar, for organizing this webinar. Now, I'd like to thank my colleagues, research scholars, and my dear participants for their active participation in this webinar. I'd like to thank our members associated with the Central Computer Center NIT Silchar for their support during the whole program and streaming the program in YouTube channel. Also, I'd like to thank our PhD scholars for their tireless support and cooperation in conducting the webinar. Now, I'd like to extend my heartiest thanks to the convener, Dr. Rajiv Singh, for his tireless efforts for the successful conduction of this webinar and for giving me this opportunity to convey the words of thanks. Let us have a hope to organize similar events in the near future. Have a nice day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, madam.
Thank you.
For supporting us.
Thank you.
Okay, hope to see you soon. Pan sir, you rush for your meeting. Yeah, we'll meet again.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye. Stay safe.